Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Rachel Klein, and I'll be your presenter today. Today, we are talking about exporting from Church Windows Web. Right now, the screen that you're seeing, this black desktop, this is my local machine. Okay, so this is the actual computer that I am sitting in the front office here presenting to you from. This is the physical computer in front of me. Okay, so this is our local machine, we're going to call it. When you log into Church Windows Web, my example, I'm using TrueGrid, so I'm using Summit. Down here at the bottom, you have this little monitor. If I click on that, that then is giving me access to this Summit server. So this is Summit's desktop. So the little mountains, the word Summit that you're seeing, this is the desktop for my Church Windows Web, where I access my Church Windows. That's this desktop. So when you are exporting or browsing to the location you want to save the file, it's really tricky, or it can be tricky at first, to know the difference between the desktop of the server, the Summit server where you're accessing your Church Windows, and then the desktop of your local computer, so the computer you're sitting in front of. So essentially you are going to have two. You're going to have your Summit desktop, which is this. If I come up to the top and I hit the little minimize button, it shrinks it down at my toolbar, and then I'm looking at my desktop of my local computer, so the computer that's physically sitting in front of me. Okay, so that's to me, that's really where the tricky part comes in understanding when I'm talking to a customer on a support call, is knowing the difference between the two desktops and how to see them or access them. So down at the bottom again, I can just click on my little remote desktop button, pops back up, and now I'm looking at Summit. I'm looking at my Church Windows seat, okay? So let's go ahead and open up Church Windows. And I'm going to show you how to generate an export from membership reports. We're not going to get into the nitty-gritty about how to get your criteria and what report you need. We're really today just going to focus on, okay, I have my report. How do I get that data down on my local machine, the machine I'm physically sitting in front of, off of my Church Windows web server? Okay, so I'm on the step 2 screen. I've already put in my criteria of who I want, and let's say I'm looking for just a basic columnar report. Just this basic template is all we're going to use today. This process can be done whether you're doing a mail merge export or a directory export. Regardless of what report format you choose here on step 2, you're going to be able to export it the same way. Okay, so I'm going to hit my print button, and my print preview is then going to appear. So this is the criteria, everybody, that I need. If I wanted to just simply send this to my printer, I could come up here to the top left and hit my little printer icon. But let's say I want to export this data out. Across the top here, you have a little export button and a down arrow. It's going to give you several different formats for how you can export this data out of Church Windows. You can go with a standard PDF if you want to. Rich text works well if you're going to put it into Microsoft Word. I would recommend against Excel or an XLSX document. This exports some formatting, which can make it honestly kind of wonky when you put it into Excel. If you're really looking at just the raw data to put into cells in an Excel file, I would go with this CSV, comma separated value document. The examples in the document I created that I showed you earlier on the Resource Center is going to walk through the CSV doc. So I'm going to select this, and then it's going to pop up with the CSV export options. If you know what these fields are and you feel strongly that you need to change them, feel free to do so. If you look at the screen and you're like, I have no idea what this is, don't change a thing. Just click OK through it, which is what we're going to do for today's example. And then it's going to pop up with the Save As screen. So this is where things can get a little tricky. So right now, if we look at up at the top here, it's telling us the location that it wants to save this file right now is this PC desktop. This is not your desktop of the computer that you're sitting in front of, okay? This is the desktop of your Summit seat, so your Summit desktop, okay? I would recommend exporting to this, and I'll show you how to move it here in a minute. But you can get to it one of two ways, where when you see this PC, this is your Summit PC, okay? And then desktop is fine. You can also go through this quick access and choose desktop. These are specific to your Summit seat, okay? So this is your Summit computer that you're looking at. I know I keep saying it, but it's kind of tricky to wrap your brain around these not being your computer you're sitting in front of. But we're going to go with desktop. I'm going to rename this. You can call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it report for today's example. And I'm going to hit save. Then it's going to ask me, do you want to open this file? I'm going to say no to this. The reason why I'm saying no is because if I say yes, my Summit seat is going to try to open up this file. And I don't want to open it on Summit. I want to get it down to my local computer where I can then email it to someone else. I can play with it in Excel. I can put it on a flash drive, do whatever I need to do with the data. Okay? So I'm going to say no. All right? Now we're done. We've exported the file. We've created the export. At this point, I'm going to close my preview. And I'm going to come up here to the top right, and I'm just going to hit the little minus sign. So I'm going to minimize my church windows, but I'm staying on my Summit desktop. And as you can see right here, here's our little report that we created. All right. It's going to show up probably with a pad like this because it's a CSV file and it's going to try to open it in Word in Notepad. Okay, your Summit server is not going to have your Excels, your Words, your Microsoft Office suite that you might be used to. So it's just going to have the basic programs, which is going to be Notepad, which is why that icon's going to look like that. Okay, so now we have it on our Summit desktop. We've created the file. Now, how do we move it from Summit to get it down to our local machine where we can actually do something with it locally? All you need to do, hover over the file, simple right-click, go to copy. Okay, we're simply copied that file. Now we need to minimize Summit. We don't have to close Summit. We can just minimize our login here to Summit, our desktop. Up at the top, we're just going to hit the little down arrow. This is our minimize. It's going to take down our Summit desktop, shrink it down here on our taskbar, which is great, and we're going to be back to the desktop of our local computer. So the desktop of the machine we're sitting in front of. Find an open spot. You're going to do a right click and you're going to hit a paste. And what this is going to do is it's going to grab that file from Summit and it's going to post it down here on your local machine. Okay. So again, this is a training computer. We don't have Excel or anything like that. You may see an Excel looking icon on your desktop. That's pretty normal. Excel is typically the program that handles a CSV file. Or you might still see a notepad depending on what programs you have. But now this is here. This is on our local machine. So from this point, you can attach this to an email. You can open up your file explorer and you can decide, okay, I have a specific drive or a specific location I like to save all my church windows reports. You can then simply drag and drop it or copy and paste it again and put it in whatever location you want now that you have the data back on your local machine. Okay. To me, this is by far the easiest way to pull data from Cloud9 and Summit. If you want, you could make a little folder on your desktop and you can just call it like exports from Church Windows Web. Call it that, and then each time you copy and bring something down, you just dump it right in there, and then you can move it and put it wherever you need to once it comes down if you like your desktop to be a little tidier. But then once it's down here, move it wherever you want and just delete the icon off your desktop if it bothers you. But that is truly the easiest, in my opinion, and the slickest way to be able to pull any type of file from your Church Windows Web and bring it down to your local machine.